It is said that long ago, in a quiet valley surrounded by rolling hills and whispering woods, there lived a blind farmer named Edrin. His life was one of simplicity, his days spent tending to his modest patch of land. But while Edrin himself was humble and unassuming, his daughter, Alenia, was a mystery that the villagers couldn't quite unravel. Alenia was no ordinary girl. Though she dressed in patched skirts and walked barefoot on the earth, there was a grace to her that belied her station. Her voice, soft yet commanding, carried a strange familiarity that made people stop and listen. Her eyes, the color of storm clouds, seemed to pierce into one's soul. Yet no one suspected that the quiet daughter of the blind farmer was anything more than she appeared. The valley itself was a world apart. Fields of wildflowers swayed in the breeze, and the distant hills were crowned with the remnants of an ancient castle, long abandoned. The villagers whispered that it had once been the seat of a mighty king, but tragedy had struck, and the royal family had disappeared without a trace. Of course, such tales were little more than bedtime stories to scare restless children. Life in the valley was simple, and few gave thought to the glories of the past. But Edrin knew more than he let on. He had not always been a blind farmer, nor had he always lived in the valley. Once he had been a knight, a trusted advisor to the king. When darkness fell upon the kingdom and the royal family was torn apart, Edrin had taken the infant princess and fled, vowing to keep her safe. Over the years, he had shed his armor for the tools of a farmer, hiding in plain sight. As for Alenia, she knew nothing of her lineage. All she knew was the warmth of her father's care, the feel of the soil beneath her hands, and the songs she would sing to the wind. But deep within her heart, she felt an ache she couldn't name, as if she were searching for something she had lost but couldn't remember. Alenia had a unique talent. While the other village girls embroidered or wove baskets, she would sit by the stream and weave crowns from wildflowers. The crowns were beautiful, unlike anything the villagers had seen. They seemed to shimmer, as though touched by some unseen magic. But Alenia never sought praise for her work. She would leave the crowns by the roadside or on a neighbor's doorstep, delighting in the joy they brought. The villagers often gossiped about her. "There's something strange about that girl," they'd say, their voices tinged with suspicion. Who ever heard of a farmer's daughter with hands that delicate? Edrin heard the whispers, but paid them no mind. He knew that Alenia's gifts came from her royal blood, though he had vowed never to tell her the truth. One day, he would say to himself, she will know who she is. But not yet. Not until it's safe. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves turned gold and the air carried a faint chill, a traveler came to the village. He was no ordinary wayfarer. His cloak was rich, his boots polished, and his eyes sharp as a hawk's. He called himself Rowan and claimed to be a bard, but his mannerisms betrayed a different purpose. Rowan seemed particularly interested in the old stories of the valley. He lingered in the village square, asking the elders about the abandoned castle and the fall of the royal family. Most dismissed him as a harmless dreamer, but Edrin grew uneasy. When Rowan's gaze lingered on Alenia a moment too long, Edrin's heart tightened with fear. That night, Edrin spoke to Alenia in hushed tones. "You must be careful, my child. There are those who seek to use what is pure and good for their own ends." Alenia frowned. "What do you mean, father? Why would anyone take an interest in me?" But Edrin said no more. He merely kissed her forehead and whispered a prayer. Rowan's true purpose became clear when he began asking questions about Alenia. "She has a certain air about her," he said to the innkeeper one evening. "A presence. Tell me, does she have any family beyond the old farmers?" The innkeeper shrugged. "Just the two of them. They've always been here, though no one quite remembers when they arrived." Rowan's suspicions deepened. He began watching Alenia more closely, noting the way she moved, the way people instinctively looked to her for comfort or guidance. It wasn't long before he pieced together the truth. One moonlit night, Rowan cornered Edrin outside his cottage. "I know who she is," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "You cannot hide her forever." Edrin's hands tightened on his staff. "She is not ready," he said, "and the world is not ready for her." But Rowan was not deterred. "The kingdom is crumbling," he said. "The people need their rightful queen." The next morning, Rowan approached Alenia. "You are more than you think you are," he said cryptically. "Come with me, and I will show you the truth." Alenia hesitated. Her father's warnings echoed in her mind, but curiosity gnawed at her. What truth did the stranger speak of? And why did it feel as though she had been waiting her entire life to hear it? Reluctantly, she agreed. Together, they journeyed to the old castle. As they approached, a strange feeling washed over Alenia. The crumbling walls and ivy-covered towers felt hauntingly familiar, as though they were calling her home. Inside the castle, Rowan led her to a hidden chamber. There, amidst dust and cobwebs, lay a chest emblazoned with the royal crest. Rowan opened it to reveal a crown, its jewels glinting in the dim light. "This is yours," Rowan said. "You are Alenia, daughter of King Theron, the lost heir to the throne." Alenia staggered back, her mind reeling. "It cannot be," she whispered. But as she touched the crown, memories she didn't know she had began to surface. Faces, voices, a lullaby sung by a mother she barely remembered. Rowan stepped closer. "The kingdom needs you," he said, "but you must choose. Will you embrace your destiny or remain in the shadows?" Alenia thought of her father, of the life they had built together. She thought of the villagers who had mocked her, but also the few who had shown her kindness. The weight of the crown felt heavy in her hands. In the end, Alenia chose to return to the valley, but she did not hide. She began to speak to the villagers, sharing her vision for a better future. Slowly, they began to see her not as a strange girl, but as a leader. When the time came to claim the throne, Alenia went not as a queen, but as a servant of the people. And in doing so, she brought the kingdom back to life. As for Edrin, he watched with pride, his blindness no hindrance to the joy he felt. "It is said," he murmured, "that a true leader does not seek power but is called to it. And so it came to be with my daughter. True greatness lies not in titles or crowns, but in the courage to embrace who we are and use our gifts for the good of others. And sometimes, those we overlook hold the power to change the world." Have you ever discovered something remarkable about someone you once underestimated? Share your story below.